Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I'm very excited to have with me Joanna Horton McPherson. And let me tell you about Joanna. Since 2011, Joanna has partnered with boards and individuals across the globe to craft strategies to change lives for the better. And Joanna specializes in a mission-driven organization. She is a social justice advocate. She supports humanitarian initiatives aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. She's certified in sustainable investing from Harvard Business School and is an accredited investor committed to deploying ethical and sustainable business principles such as profit sharing and collective wealth building. She serves currently as president-elect for the National Association of Women Business Owners. So that's NAWBO, National Association of Women Business Owners. And that's the Phoenix chapter. So with this wonderful mind that we have as my guest today, we're going to talk about something that you know I love to talk about, and that's transformative leadership and how we can really make a difference in the world as leaders. So please join me in welcoming my guest, Joanna Horton McPherson. Joanna, so excited to have our conversation today.
Me too. Thank you for having me, Vicki. I'm excited to be with you.
So I always ask two easy questions, Joanna. The first is to just let everybody know what part of the world, what part of the country do you live in? Where do you call home right now?
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. This is where I call home. I'm a Maine native, however.
I did read that in your background. Get rid of that cold, I guess, huh? And went right for the hot.
That's right. They say you can take the girl out of Maine, but you can't take Maine out of the girl.
Yeah.
Mainers are hardy people. And I'm a first-generation Mainer, so my parents are from around the world where they grew up and wanted to have a place where they could have their children stay in one place where they would have lifelong friendships. And that was
nice.
An important thing for me growing up.
Yeah, very true. So we talked about all the great things that you've accomplished, but I'd love for you to share your journey, just to highlight, that it isn't a straight path, that there are all of those pivots that we have to make, challenges that we have. So share about your journey that's really informed your passion, your purpose, why you do what you do today.
Sure. Becoming an entrepreneur was not something I think I set out to do. Like many people, I did try to fit in the system. I tried to do it the way you're supposed to do it, and it didn't work for me. Not because I didn't want it to, but because from a young age, I was involved in theater education. I was passionate about working in nonprofits and youth development, starting from age 13. And when I entered the job market with friends in our 20s out of college, I was putting my resume out to the same places they were, but for someone with a unique skill set, doing leadership work, nonprofit youth development theater, being a nonprofit founder at 21, I was not the top choice. I was not sort of someone who would fit into the corporate culture perhaps well. I would only imagine if I'm on the interviewing side. So I did not get the stable 9-to-5 jobs, wasn't even interviewed. So that was really hard in my 20s to feel like during this time in your 20s, you want to prove that you are capable and that you can achieve what others are achieving. And in a very insecure time in my young part of my career, I thought something was wrong with me, that I couldn't get those jobs. And it's only after, continuing to pursue acting, founding another nonprofit, cobbling together jobs for years, that my path formed as an entrepreneur who did make my own system, make my own businesses again and again. And now in my 40s, I look back and I say, I didn't give myself a lot of credit really for the work I was doing. And I did develop a lot of skills, a lot of knowledge. I have a lot of stories. Not all of them are pretty, most of them probably. But I want to say, because I know a lot of us are uncertain about the identity of being an entrepreneur, it doesn't necessarily come with a lot of accolades and accomplishments. It's sort of a process you focus on to develop your own system. And you won't get a lot of congratulations for that journey, but it's one that I've been on for most of my life. And now I have a lot to say about it.
Yeah.
I think it's something that for those of us in the world of misfit toys who couldn't fit in the system, it's can be your badge of honor that you persisted.
Yeah, for sure. I know that for the longest time, I really just didn't think I was enough, because I didn't go to college till I was late 40s. And that was just at really a recommendation from one of my male managers who basically said, well, you're not going to get any further unless you have that college degree. And the interesting thing was that in my last year of college, I decided I did it through University of Phoenix because I was on the road almost the entire time during pursuing that college degree. And I found that I did know things, and I had all of those past businesses and life experiences were really valuable. And I matriculated the last year of my college degree with credits from things that I took, all the personal development that I took always. And so it was really an affirmation of who I was. And I no longer cared what those other folks said. I knew that I could be who I wanted to be. And so for me, that was the beginning of the transformation of who I was. And I'm sure that people that knew me in my 20s and 30s would not recognize who I am today.
Absolutely. That's amazing you created yourself to be like that.
Yeah, and we always talk about our inner circle of people who we bring with us and around us, and they can be helpful or they can be detrimental. And I always latched on to people that impress me, people like yourself, and just wondered, what do they do that I could be doing or should be doing? And so, the things that I accomplished put me ahead of others just because I just stuck to it. One of my businesses is owned by Jeff Olson, who wrote The Slight Edge. And I resonate with that because it is just the little small things that you think are inconsequential, the mundane, the boring, the things that you do every day that don't seem like a big deal. And then all of a sudden, things happen.
Like, what's an example?
Oh gosh. So for me, it was becoming a project manager. And I was on the team and then assistant to the lead. And then I became lead. And all the years, all of the projects, all of those people, the stakeholders that I encountered with became assets to me to be really effective as a project manager, because I knew so much about so many things that it was very helpful, and didn't let myself be pigeonholed ever. It can easily happen. So, but let's talk about you and not me. So I wanted to talk about the fact that a transformative leadership often begins with a strong mission. So how do you guide organizations to stay true to their mission? In some cases, know what their mission truly is, identify, articulate it. And this is all while navigating the pressures of growth and change.
Yeah, good question. My experience working with organizations and individuals, both, has the same process to some degree around asking deeper questions than we tend to go to when we're creating something. We forget that we get to goals a lot by default. There's a book called Succeed I'm reading right now by Dr. Heidi Halverson, and she talks about how we set goals. And most of the goals we actually pursue come from our unconscious processes, goals that we do to maintain something or appear good or get the job done on a basis of being functional. But what we forget is that if we want to be better and create a world that's different and have a vision, the goals aren't the same as what we would create before asking deeper questions. So an example would be, I created a school in Sedona, Arizona, several years back, and we faced challenges in the community for various reasons around the education system and proponents and opponents of a private school being present there. And as we got going, a lot of people are interested in helping make a private school happen. But here's where the vision part comes in. Private education does have a default to who can pay for it, which tend to be families with money. And in that part of the world, the families with money tend to be white. And in that world, the people who have money and are white are not going to be with families who are from other places in the world or other countries or other colors or religions. And that's not the world that I would choose for my children. And just because I'm white doesn't mean I want that to be the default school. So one of the conversations we went to was, how do we create a school in a world where any child and any family, regardless of their background or ability to pay, can attend this high-level education program at low or no cost? So now you're designing a school with a goal, not just to create a quality program, but create a quality program that has a lot of access and creates more opportunities for people to change the future. So I guess to answer your question, Vicki, I would say asking questions about what are we really wanting to create in the world? What are we not looking at? How do we reverse engineer ourselves from the world we want to create to backwards map the steps? Normally we think, I want to get there. And like we're talking about, default goals are, I would, apply to Arizona Department of Education, and I would raise money for people. And then, later, if I discover I wanted to make it equal access, you've raised maybe the wrong audience, or you've taken the wrong step. So to reverse engineer and say my outcome is to have access and opportunity and a high quality education for all, there might be a first step that's different, which is to get different nonprofits on board, talk to stakeholders who have an investment in that vision also. You said something a moment ago about the right people. That cannot be overstated. What you need in the building phase of an organization are people who can share the vision and hold the vision. that tends to be a personal growth journey. We don't really like to talk about leadership as a personal growth journey, but frankly, that's true leadership is a personal
Yes.
journey. It's an inner looking at how am I aligning with what I say I want to create in the questions I'm asking, in the feedback I'm getting, in the learning that I'm going to take on. If something isn't working, am I going to pivot to change the goal to get it done? Or am I going to stick with my vision and find another way and persist and put in the extra work and go the next step? So getting people who will build with you and embody the journey with you is critical.
And I know often we talked about change, and oftentimes change is associated with fear, being comfortable and not wanting to go outside of that comfort zone, or fear being, how do I know this will be better? Even though, and that's where you sharing your vision and in a way that is engaging and can be embraced because they see their selves in that vision. And so now they're not promoting or persuading or motivating for your vision. They're promoting for our vision. And you go from the I to the we. And I think that's, something that you'll see leaders transform from good managers to good leaders to great leaders when they understand that.
I'm writing down what you're saying. I take notes when people talk to me. I get one-liners, and I'll share with you some of the things you've said that stood out to me in a moment. When you say I to we, that sounds easy. Like, oh, I can just really make a team approach, right? Like be a team. I think so much of it comes down to the genuine desire to connect with people about what they care about, and not as a strategy, although it is a strategy, but to really be interested in what people are creating. I had a board member once. It makes me laugh because I'm like, maybe he'll hear this. Hi, Pastor Jim, if he's listening. He was on the board of the school I just mentioned. He is a religious figure in the community, but he's also very conservative. His church had certain norms around inclusion that were not aligned with mine, for example. And he and I would talk about these things, not head on, not directly to address differences, but he knew the vision of the school that I described to you, and he was fully on board. But there's a reason. It's because he's an iconoclastic thinker. Like you, he cannot be pigeonholed. His faith and his Christian faith is what guides him. And there's really very few people in the world who can tell him what to do otherwise. He's the leader of his community. So inside of being himself fully, he is just a wonderful human, and he was so supportive, and we genuinely would have these conversations with each other about the school and things that were going on. And I want to say also, it's important to me to not always have people who agree with me on my boards. There's a very good reason for that. In that board, I was the president of the board. I asked them to assess my leadership. And I was doing this because the executive director we had was going to be asked to be reviewed also and have feedback. And I wanted to model for her that it is normal and it is important that a leader make room for the people you serve to give you feedback to grow from. And I did it myself, not just because I wanted to model that for her, but because I truly believe that if you want to grow, you get feedback. So back to Jim, he would give me feedback. And he was someone he invested in me personally, and I invested in his vision. This is how you go from I to we. This is how you get people to come along with your vision, is when you care about theirs.
So important. I think, as speakers, we know that we can talk about what we care about, but until we make the audience see what they care, that they want to see themselves in it. They want to see how we are hearing them and addressing their problems, and we get them. It's, the thing. It's like great whenever somebody comes up and thinks that you just did that speech just for them. That
Like,
was how do you know me?
yeah, you were talking just to me.
I know, that's
That's
right.
right.
I wanted to spend a little bit of time about the UN Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 of them. So, what drew you to align to them, and maybe share just real quickly what the 17 are?
The United Nations formed many years ago a vision for, I think it was by 2028 or 2030, to accomplish a world in which all of these goals include, clean water. My top two are quality education and gender equality.
Yeah.
I did not come up I am a feminist in the way that I care about women having equal capacity, access, and opportunity. But what we know, and I never chose that as a political platform, it's more that when women have rights, it's human rights because we care for so many people. Women care for
Exactly.
communities, women care for groups, women invest in their families. For investing in particular, when women invest, they invest back into their families and
Mhm.
communities statistically, which improves life, not just for women. So it improves society. So you
Right.
see there's a tie to social change when you invest in gender equality. And when you invest in education, women, especially in developing countries, marry later, are now free from being child brides at 13 years old to be part of the workforce, make money for their family, bring more food, have their children go to school, get education. Villages will get water for the first time, electricity. So society again changes
Yeah.
when women invest, when women are educated and can have capacity. So those are my favorite UN development goals. And they're sort of a guide for those of us who do service work and have a vision beyond
Yeah.
what we are now. I view them as ethical guidelines. You
Mhm.
know, we could create a lot of things in the world, and we do, but this is an ethical guideline for, it's like a moral compass for us
Mhm.
as a society, as a global community, to do better.
Mhm. I always, when I talk to the youth, as I'm training them in leadership and public speaking, I tell them that I'm doing this because I want the world to have great leaders. And so if I can um, help them at their young age to understand that and to have that their goals and their mission and their vision, then I know my grandboys will have a great set of leaders. And I think all of these steps that we take along the way are how we transform to, the leaders that we could be. So let's talk about profit sharing and collective wealth building a little bit more. Um, how can transformative leaders adopt the practices to create lasting impact with their organizations, their business, their communities, their families, even?
I suppose it depends on what kind of transformation one's seeking.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important we don't assume we know what that means. People lead all kinds of things out there. I mean, your
Mm-hmm.
listeners and the audience who are listening right now, you may be leading a corporate team. You may be leading the set of people in your business that you're building. You may lead a community, a network. You may lead, the people you serve, youth, or however that shows up. I believe transformation is always possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's the kind of transformation you're talking about really starts within the leader themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, One thing that doesn't work is for us to, I did this for so many years, Vicki. I kept work outside of me. And I'm laughing because there was a time when I served youth I was, late 20s, no, early 30s, maybe. No, I was in my 20s. I went to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I was in a youth agency opening a teen arts and academic center. And I remember getting feedback one day from my boss that I was rude to the staff in the building. The receptionist had commented that I would always walk in and I would maybe acknowledge her, say hello, but I was very impersonal. And maybe it was a cultural difference because I was from Maine and I'm in Louisiana. Maybe I think it was mostly due to insecurity and not feeling like I could really be myself at work. And that I didn't understand the value of spending time and talking or chatting or just even acknowledging in a more human way of the people around me, other than my team. I was going back in the back of the building, walk right past, go to where I worked. I don't know the reason necessarily that it was, something to feel bad about. It's just that work for me for so long was outside of who I really was. And I think that's part of what we develop, is understanding that our work at a certain time, you develop so much capacity to lead that you realize who you are cannot be separated from work anymore. Your
That's
leadership
right.
is who you are. I understand this now, and I'm also much more comfortable with myself than I was then. So for leaders who want to, we talked about collective wealth building, profit sharing, impact investing. These are all financial levers to pull specifically. And a lot of people I work with are building those financial levers and how to become an influential figure for others, how to invest, and how do you even become someone who can impact a community with your financial leadership. I think it really begins with setting the vision for what you want to create and what kind of world you want to live in, and see other people succeed financially as well, not just ourselves, to understand how to build wealth, how to build a business, teach people those skills, and have the same desires for wealth and thriving that we have in our own lives.
So that kind of leads me to your role as the president-elect of the National Association of Women Business Owners in Phoenix. How do you see that next generation of women business owners redefining leadership? What advice do you give them for leading transformative change? Because as I said, I find that people just are so hesitant to change and try things. Innovation and creativity, I think, gets stifled sometimes because we'll do what we know, or we've done it forever and it's worked. Why fix it if it's not broke, and all those other things.
Yeah, what's funny about that? You're reminding me, I'm writing a note down about confidence, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I train people to speak. That's what I do for my work. I train women leaders to share what they've learned on a bigger stage, and to build your business or to be a mentor, or whatever speaking does for people, whatever your goals are. But we develop a talk around your business and your lessons that you can take and, get on paid stages and be visible and go bigger with your leadership out in the sphere, in the world. I hear women say so many times, but I really don't know if I should give a talk around this, or if I can, because so many people are already doing it.
It's not your story.
How am I going to say anything new? Right. And then the other thing about being confident to lead is that no one will give this to you. A lot of us wait around for some permission or some knighting, like you are now blessed with confidence to go.
There you
go
go.
forward and lead. And it's like, that's never going to come. Part of the struggle with an entrepreneur is to be such an independent thinker that you realize that those who've gone before us decided to be confident. That was a choice they made, and then they lived into it, and they probably made a lot of mistakes. I mean, I can speak for myself.
Yes.
I made a lot of embarrassing mistakes. I still do.
Yeah.
But that doesn't
Me
make
too.
me less confident, because I really understand it's a practice of deciding who to be and how to think of yourself and to who you want to be. I tell people, you've seen others do it. You've seen other people do it. What's different about you and them? Nothing. They decided to do it, and you still haven't committed to that. That's the difference. Really. I mean, it comes down to that. Then there's the performance part. So the part about speaking, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is where my work just so excites me to no end, because the truth of us each being a unique snowflake is absolutely true, because no one can say Vicki's message for Vicki. No one has the path that you've walked. No one came from your background who made this choice to do this, who learned this from what she had to overcome back here that made her go into business, for example. That is such a unique path. And I tell people the other way. So if that didn't convince you, let's flip it around the other way. Have you not been in an audience where someone came to the stage, took the microphone, and shared their story? And like you said, they're like, you're talking to me. This is for me. I needed to hear this today. That is you. I tell my clients, you just own that space, because vulnerable sharing about your journey to those who are on the journey too is so needed, and it's so valuable, especially when it's coming from a place of truth. The confidence to do that comes from me with my clients from understanding really what your message actually is already inside of you, that you've already lived it. But what we haven't done is pull out your message and tie it to your story and tie it to your business. And then when you do that, you complete this package of, now you're a public figure who has this message and has this story. So it kind of comes together, and the confidence builds by knowledge, self-knowledge, the inner work of doing that knowledge. Because, you know, what we know about speakers is someone can come on stage and give a talk, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, great talk. Heard this before. None of us want that. We don't want to be that person. What we do want to do is someone, you come out and you talk, and they're like, oh, wow, she's been through something, and she's here doing this now, and I'm so inspired. But we cannot inspire from the stage and tell them a story unless we're inspired by ourselves in our own journey.
That's true. And, you know, that sincerity and that authenticity just comes out. Enthusiasm, you know, some of my best talks are some that, you know, I'll prepare a speech or a presentation, and I'll just really highlight those parts of my life that I lived, I know, I believe, I'm passionate about. And then as I get feedback from the audience, I love to just engage the audience. They'll say something, and I was like, well, this is what you need to hear. So that part of the speech is going away, and we're going to talk about this. And those are probably the best parts of my talks.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because it comes from your heart, and you're connected with the real heart in the audience. That's really where the powerful thing of being a speaker is when you know how to connect with them.
Absolutely. Well, time has flown by, and we could talk for a long time on this subject. I will definitely have you back so we can chat a little bit more. But I am sure that there are, the audience wants to get to know you. Before we leave, as a rapid fire question, what is one thing, if they remember nothing else about what you said today, would you want that audience to remember about our conversation?
It is vitally important for you to live out your purpose in this life, to find out what matters most to you, and live from that place.
All right. So as always, if you're just listening, you know that you should have been taking notes all along. I remind you time after time. But if you didn't, No worries. You can go to my YouTube channel, Vicki Noethling. So please do subscribe. Or you can go to findyourleadershipconfidence.com to get the show notes as well. You can subscribe there. So the website is joannahortonmcpherson.com. Again, joannahortonmcpherson.com. On Facebook, it's also her name, Joanna Horton McPherson. LinkedIn is Joanna-Horton-McPherson. Instagram is also Joanna Horton McPherson. I'm going to turn it over to Joanna. She'll talk to you about what she has out on her website that might be helpful, resources, links, how to set up a conversation or get speaking help, whatever, as well as where she spends most time out there on those social media platforms. So if you linked up with her, there's a little hint. You'll know that you'll get a DM pretty quick.
Sure. Yes, I did tell you LinkedIn is where the business community tends to find me on there. This is a good time to go to that last website there. trueinfluencemethod.com is where I'm launching several training programs, from introduction to speaking to your signature talk to making a total speaker kit, and doing a speaker retreat with me. We're going to be in multiple cities this year. I don't know if your city is on the list, listener. I don't have Atlanta yet, Vicki, so we'll have to look at that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
We have communities starting, including the virtual one. It's building very quickly. It's a mastermind for women leaders looking to speak on all levels of the journey, even from wanting to speak to already being paid to appear on stages. How you're messaging your call to action, your core message, and which stories to tell that will engage your audience the most deeply, and turn into revenue, turn into lives changed, turn into a greater following and higher visibility and exposure for the speaker. So I do trainings, and we also do group practice. It's a place to grow, but also incredibly valuable to meet other like-minded women, to broaden your network across the country and the world, in fact. So we do great breakout sessions, and you'll find relationships that you'll build into your own network from that community alone. So those are things available on the True Influence Method. What I love to do is meet new people and bring this work out to their communities. I work with CEOs, I work in corporations, I work with nonprofits, and a lot of individual clients as well.
Well, Joanna, thank you so much for being such an awesome guest. I enjoyed our conversation immensely today, as I knew I would. And I remind everyone that life is a journey, and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling, signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.